Dr. Kim Tae-ho sipped his cold coffee and rubbed his tired eyes. For the past 14 hours he had been staring at the same data patterns on his screen, convinced there was something unusual in the signal from Europa. "You need to get some sleep," said Dr. Park Ji-won, his longtime colleague, placing a hand on his shoulder. "The signal will still be there tomorrow." "Look at this frequency pattern," Tae-ho pointed at the screen. "It repeats exactly every 108 seconds. Nature doesn't work like that, Ji-won." The small SETI research facility outside Seoul wasn't fancy, just 3 interconnected prefabricated buildings with outdated equipment. But what they lacked in resources, they made up for in dedication. Their team of 5 had been monitoring deep space signals for years without anything remarkable to show for it, until now. "Get Lee Subin in here," Tae-ho said suddenly. "I need her eyes on this." Subin was their linguist, brilliant at pattern recognition. She arrived 15 minutes later, hair disheveled and wearing mismatched shoes, having rushed from her apartment across town. "This better be good," she yawned, but her expression changed as she studied the screen. That's not random noise. The 3 researchers worked through the night, breaking down the signal into components. By morning, they had confirmed it originated from somewhere beneath Europa's icy surface. By afternoon, they had isolated mathematical sequences. Prime, numbers, pi to 50 digits, the golden ratio. "Someone or something is trying to communicate," Subin whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "And they're using human mathematical language to do it." News of their discovery spread quickly through the scientific community. Within days, their small facility was overrun with government officials, military personnel, and experts from around the world. Tae-ho found himself pushed aside as higher-profile scientists took over the analysis. Only Ji-won and Subin stayed, loyal, continuing to work with him late into the nights after the others had left. "They're missing it," Tae-ho said one evening, pointing to a section of code everyone else had dismissed as interference. "There's a message buried in this segment." Subin spent 3 days developing an algorithm to extract it. When she finally ran the program, the 3 researchers gathered around her screen holding their breath. Words began to appear. "We have always been here." "English," Ji-won whispered. "They're communicating in English?" "Not just English," Subin said, her voice shaking. "Look at the structure. This isn't just someone who knows our language. This is someone who understands how humans think." The next morning, men in dark suits arrived. All their data was confiscated. The facility was shut down, temporarily for security purposes. The team was separated and told not to discuss their findings with anyone, including each other. But Tae-ho had been paranoid enough to create a backup. That night, as he packed his belongings, he slipped a small drive into his shoe. 2 weeks of debriefings followed. Government officials questioned every aspect of the discovery. They seemed less interested in what the message said than in making sure no one else knew about it. "This information could cause panic," one official explained. "We need to control the narrative." Tae-ho nodded politely, but inside he was seething. This didn't belong to any one government. This belonged to humanity. On his last day of questioning, he received an unexpected visitor. Professor Kang, his old mentor from university, somehow had security clearance to see him. "Walk with me," Professor Kang said, guiding him outside where they couldn't be easily recorded. "Something big is happening. They're planning an expedition to Europa." "What? How do you know this?" "I still have friends in high places. They're assembling an international team, the best minds from different fields. Your name is on the list, along with Park Ji-won. And Subin?" Professor Kang shook his head. "Not yet, but I'm working on it." That night, Tae-ho risked everything. He snuck out of his monitored apartment, used a stranger's phone, and called Subin. "I need you to do something," he whispered. "Take the pattern we found in the secondary frequency and apply it to astronomical coordinates." 2 days later, Tae-ho received a text from an unknown number. It's a map. Not just to Europa. It shows a specific location beneath the ice. Coordinates match a region with unusual thermal readings. When Tai-ho was finally released from government oversight, he found an envelope in his mailbox containing official documents. He had been selected for a classified international mission. The launch date was in 6 months. That evening, as he stood on his balcony looking up at the night sky, his phone rang. "Did you get the invitation?" Ji-won asked. "Yes." "You?" "Just arrived." Soo-bin too, they finally cleared her. Tae-ho gripped the railing tightly. "Do you realize what this means? If there's something under that ice that knows about us, that's been watching us." "I know," Ji-won replied. "Everything changes." "No," Tae-ho said, staring at the stars. "Everything already changed the moment we received that signal. We just don't know how yet." 6 months passed in a blur of training, tests, and sleepless nights. Tae-ho barely had time to process the magnitude of what they were about to do before he found himself strapped into a seat aboard the Odysseus, humanity's most advanced spacecraft built through an emergency international collaboration. "Nervous?" Ji-won asked from the seat beside him as the engines began their warm-up sequence. "Terrified," Tae-ho admitted, gripping the armrests. "But I wouldn't miss this for anything." The journey to Europa took 22 days. 22 days of cramped quarters, dehydrated food, and mounting tension. The 12-person crew was a mix of scientists and military personnel from 7 different countries. Despite their diverse backgrounds, they shared a common purpose and a common question. What would they find beneath Europa's ice? Landing on the icy moon was treacherous. Wind shear nearly tipped their landing module twice, and the ice beneath them cracked ominously as they touched down. "Welcome to Europa," announced Commander Lee, a no-nonsense military man who had been skeptical of Tae-ho's theories from the start. "Let's not die here." The drilling began immediately. Using thermal technology that melted the ice rather than breaking it, they made steady progress downward. Tae-ho monitored the readings anxiously, comparing them with the coordinates they had decoded from the signal. "We should hit something at approximately 3.2 kilometers down," he told the team during their daily briefing. "Something that isn't ice." On the 8th day of drilling, at exactly 318 kilometers beneath the surface, the drill's sensors reported an unexpected void. "Stop!" Tae-ho shouted into his communicator. "We've reached an open space." The team gathered around the drill shaft, peering down into darkness. Powerful lights revealed a cavernous area beneath them, clearly not natural. The walls were smooth, with patterns etched into their surface. Choi Do-hyun, their research specialist, was the first to be lowered down. His voice crackled over the radio as he touched the floor of the cavern. "You need to see this," he said, his voice hollow with awe. "All of you." One by one they descended. Tae-ho's heart hammered in his chest as he was lowered into the darkness. As his feet touched the ground, his headlamp illuminated what had struck Do-hyun speechless. Symbols. Human symbols. Mathematical equations, star charts, and what appeared to be ancient writing covered the walls. "This isn't alien," Soo-bin whispered, running her hand along the etchings. "These are human numerals, human concepts of astronomy." "That's impossible," Commander Lee said. "Humans haven't been to Europa." "Apparently we have," Ji-won replied, pointing to a section of wall that depicted Earth and what was clearly a spacecraft leaving it, heading toward Jupiter's moon. For the next 3 days they explored the vast chamber and the tunnels leading from it. They discovered technology far beyond Earth's capabilities, machines still functioning after what carbon dating suggested was thousands of years. In one room, they found what looked like observation equipment aimed at Earth. Screens displayed real-time images of major cities, oceans, even remote wilderness areas. "They've been watching us," Tae-ho realized. "For thousands of years." Do-hyun discovered an archive room containing records dating back millennia. Detailed observations of Earth's development, the rise and fall of civilizations, technological advancements, wars, plagues, and triumphs. "Look at this," he called out, holding a strange device that projected images when touched. "It shows humans leaving Earth during a catastrophic event approximately 75,000 years ago." "The Toba catastrophe," Soo-bin said immediately. a supervolcano eruption that nearly wiped out humanity. Some scientists believe it reduced the human population to fewer than 10,000 individuals. Or maybe some left, Tejo suggested, watching. The holographic display shows spacecraft leaving a smoke-covered Earth. On the 5th day of exploration, they found the central chamber. Larger than all the others, its ceiling was a dome of what appeared to be transparent material, offering a view of Europa's icy surface above and the distant sun. In the center stood a pillar covered in handprints. Some kind of control panel, Jiwon suggested. Tejo approached it slowly, studying the prints. They were unmistakably human hands, though somewhat different in proportion from his own. I think, he said cautiously, it's meant to be activated by touch. Wait, Commander Lee interrupted. We don't know what that will do. But Tejo had already placed his hand on the print. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entire chamber hummed to life. Lights activated along the walls and the pillar began to glow from within. A holographic figure materialized before them, a woman in unfamiliar clothing, with features that seemed both human and subtly not. She spoke in an ancient language none of them recognized, then paused as if listening. After a moment, she switched to perfect, unaccented English. Welcome, kindred, she said. We have waited a long time for you to find us. Who are you? Tejo asked, his voice barely a whisper. The hologram smiled. We are you. We are the Watchers. We left Earth when death came from the sky, but we never abandoned our home. We have watched over you, protected you, and waited for you to be ready. Ready? For what? Commander Lee demanded. To learn the truth, the hologram replied. About us, about yourselves, about what waits beyond the stars. As if on cue, a section of the wall slid open, revealing a new passage. Unlike the ancient stone of the previous chambers, this one was lined with metal that hummed with power. Tejo exchanged looks with his team. Whatever lay down that corridor would change humanity forever. Well, he said, taking a deep breath, we didn't come all this way to turn back now. The new corridor stretched ahead, its walls pulsing with a soft blue light that seemed to follow their movements. Unlike the ancient chambers they'd explored before, this passage hummed with active technology. It feels alive, Subin whispered, her words echoing slightly despite the absorptive material lining the walls. Tejo nodded, unable to shake the sensation that they were being watched, assessed, by the structure itself. The team proceeded cautiously, Commander Lee insisting that their military personnel take the lead. Heat signatures ahead, announced Sergeant Yoon, checking a handheld scanner. Either very advanced machinery or what? Jiwon asked. Living beings, Yoon replied quietly. The corridor opened into a vast circular room dominated by a central platform. Arranged in a ring around it were workstations with displays showing star maps, Earth's continents, and streams of data none of them could interpret. The room was empty, yet everything blinked and whirred as if recently used. Kang Hyunwoo, their team's engineer, approached one of the stations cautiously. These interfaces, they're designed for human hands, he observed, hovering his fingers over what appeared to be a control panel. May I? Before Commander Lee could respond, Hyunwoo's hand accidentally brushed against the surface. The entire station lit up, displays shifting rapidly before settling on what appeared to be a communications interface. I think I just turned something on, Hyunwoo said, stepping back quickly. A voice echoed through the room, not from speakers but seemingly from the walls themselves. Connection established. Signal broadcasting. Shut it down, Commander Lee ordered, but it was too late. A holographic projection appeared in the center of the room, a detailed map of their solar system. A blinking light showed their position on Europa. Another light, previously hidden at the far edge of the Kuiper Belt, began moving toward them. What did you do? Lee demanded, rounding on Hyunwoo. I barely touched it, the engineer protested. Tejo stepped between them. Whatever he did, it's done. We need to prepare for whatever's coming. The team retreated to their base camp at the surface, establishing a defensive perimeter despite protests from the scientists. For 3 tense days, they monitored the approaching signal, debating whether to attempt communication or prepare for hostile contact. On the 4th day, their sensors detected something materializing in orbit around Europa. "It's just appeared," reported their communications officer. "No approach trajectory, no deceleration burn. One moment nothing, the next moment, there." The object was massive, at least 5 times the size of their own spacecraft. Its design was unlike anything in Earth's engineering archives, yet somehow familiar, flowing lines and curves that echoed human aesthetic sensibilities. "They're hailing us," the communications officer announced, surprise evident in her voice. "Using our own frequencies and protocols." The team gathered around the main display as the connection was established. The screen remained dark for several seconds before clearing to reveal a woman in a fitted silver-gray uniform. Her features were human yet subtly different. Higher cheekbones, slightly larger eyes, skin with an almost luminous quality. "Greetings, Earth Expedition," she said in perfect English, though her accent was unlike any Taeho had heard before. "I am Captain Yoon Jae-hee of the Guardian vessel Horizon. We've been monitoring your progress." Commander Lee stepped forward. "How do you know our language? What is your origin?" The captain smiled, a surprisingly warm expression. "We know all Earth languages. As for our origin," she paused. "Perhaps it would be easier to show you. With your permission, we will send a small delegation to your position." Before Lee could respond, a soft humming sound filled the base camp. A section of the floor began to glow, and 5 figures materialized within the light. Captain Jae-hee stood at their center, flanked by 4 others in similar uniforms. Up close, the differences in their appearance were more noticeable. They were all slightly taller than average humans, with more defined musculature and that same luminous quality to their skin. "Forgive our dramatic entrance," Jae-hee said. "We thought it best to demonstrate our capabilities clearly." "You're human," Taeho stated, stepping forward despite Lee's warning gesture. "We are guardians," Jae-hee corrected gently. "But yes, we share your ancestry. We are what humanity became after leaving Earth 75,000 years ago." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "That's impossible," Ji-won finally said. "Human civilization only began about 12,000 years ago." One of the guardians, a man with silver streaks in his dark hair, stepped forward. "Your current civilization, yes. But humanity is far older than your records suggest. We were already exploring space when the Toba catastrophe threatened to destroy everything. I'm Dr. Kim Taeho." Taeho introduced himself, ignoring Commander Lee's warning look. "You've been watching us. Why reveal yourselves now?" Jae-hee nodded to her companion, who produced a small device. When activated, it projected a 3-dimensional image of the solar system, with dozens of points of light positioned throughout. "These are our outposts," Jae-hee explained. "For millennia, we've maintained a presence throughout this system, observing Earth's development while remaining hidden. We've protected your world from threats you never knew existed." "Threats?" Commander Lee asked sharply. "What threats?" "You are not alone in this galaxy," Jae-hee said simply. "And not all who travel between stars are benevolent." Over the next hours, the Guardians shared their history. How a faction of advanced humans had foreseen the Toba catastrophe and prepared for exodus. How they had established colonies throughout the solar system, developing technologies that allowed them to live in harsh environments and eventually to travel beyond. "We've maintained the quarantine of Earth," Jae-hee explained, "allowing your branch of humanity to develop naturally, without interference from us or others." "But why contact us now?" Subin asked. Jae-hee's expression grew serious. "Because circumstances have changed. Our scanning stations detected your signal analysis. You found us earlier than we expected, and now we face a decision." "What decision?" Taeho asked. "Whether to fully reveal ourselves to Earth," Jae-hee replied. "Whether your world is ready to learn that you are not alone, that you have never been alone, and whether you're ready to face what lies beyond our solar system." She turned to gaze at each of them. We need your help. You will be the bridge between our worlds. The first contact is already made. You are speaking with us now. But what comes next will determine the future of both our civilizations. And if we refuse? Commander Lee asked. Jae-hee's expression remained gentle, but her words carried weight. The choice to embrace knowledge cannot be unmade. You've already discovered our existence. We can either face what comes next together or separately, but it comes regardless. Tae-ho looked at his teammates, then back to these human cousins who had watched over Earth for millennia. What exactly is coming? Jae-hee's gaze shifted to the starfield visible through the base's viewport. Change, she said simply. And not all of it welcome. The Guardian vessel Horizon dwarfed the Earth expedition's ship. As they docked in its cavernous hangar bay, Tae-ho pressed his face against the viewport, taking in the curved walls that seemed to glow from within, and the dozens of smaller craft arranged in perfect formation. This isn't just a ship, he whispered to Ji-won beside him. It's a mobile city. Captain Jae-hee waited for them at the airlock, now accompanied by a distinguished-looking man she introduced as Ambassador Song Min-ho. Welcome aboard, Min-ho said, bowing slightly. Few Earth humans have ever set foot on a Guardian vessel. This is a historic moment for both our peoples. Commander Lee remained suspicious, insisting that half their team stay behind on Europa, as a precaution. Tae-ho, Ji-won, Su-bin, and 3 others followed their hosts into the heart of the ship. The corridors were wide and airy, filled with people going about their duties. All looked human at first glance, but carried themselves with an almost unnatural grace. Many paused to stare at the visitors with undisguised curiosity. Your first time seeing Earth humans? Su-bin asked one young woman who had stopped to gaze at them. In person, yes, she replied. We've studied you, of course, but you're, she searched for the word, different than I expected. More real. Min-ho led them to a large circular chamber with a domed ceiling that displayed what appeared to be a real-time view of space around them. The observatory, he explained. From here we can view any sector of known space. Today I want to show you your place in the galaxy. He gestured, and the ceiling display changed, zooming out to show the entire solar system. With another motion, the view expanded further, revealing neighboring star systems, then entire sectors of the Milky Way. This, Min-ho said, is what we call charted space. Regions where civilizations exist, where trade routes connect, where treaties and alliances hold. Tae-ho felt a chill run down his spine as he realized the implications. How many civilizations that we know of? 43, with interstellar capabilities. Perhaps twice that number restricted to their home systems. Some humanoid, many not. Ji-won stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her caution. And they know about us? About Earth? A new voice answered from the doorway. Some do, most don't. A woman entered, her uniform more elaborate than the others. I am Diplomat Bae Yoon-ji, Chief Negotiator for the Guardian Protectorate. Min-ho nodded respectfully to her before continuing. Earth exists in what galactic society calls a protected development zone. Simply put, a wildlife preserve for sentient beings. We're in a zoo? Commander Lee asked, his voice tight with anger. Not a zoo, Yoon-ji corrected, her tone gentle but firm. A sanctuary. Your development has been natural and uninfluenced, which makes Earth unique and valuable. She moved to a control panel and brought up images of strange vessels and even stranger beings. The galaxy is ancient, filled with civilizations that achieved space travel millions of years before humans existed. Some are benevolent. Others, she paused. Others see developing worlds as resources to be exploited. We've protected Earth, Min-ho continued. Diverted curious explorers, intercepted potential colonization attempts, even fought small skirmishes beyond your solar system's edge, all to ensure humanity could develop without interference. Why? Tae-ho asked. Why protect us but not help us? Yoon-ji smiled sadly. Because contact changes everything. Look at your own history. What happened when technologically advanced cultures encountered less developed ones on Earth? We wanted to spare you that fate. The display shifted again, showing a timeline of Earth's history, alongside images of Guardian interventions, strange craft being redirected from Earth's orbit, monitoring stations like the one they'd found on Europa, and occasional direct interactions with earlier human civilizations. Those ancient astronaut theories, Subin whispered. The gods coming from the sky in many old cultures? Sometimes we made mistakes, Minho admitted. Sometimes we were seen. Those stories are echoes of truth distorted by time. So why now? Jiwon asked. Why reveal yourselves at this point? Yoonji exchanged a look with Minho before answering. Politics, she said simply. Not ours. Theirs. She gestured to the galaxy display. For millennia, we've represented humanity in galactic affairs, speaking for both branches of our species. We've had a seat at the table because of our technological advancement and strategic position. But that's changing, Minho continued. A coalition of civilizations has challenged our right to speak for Earth. They argue that without formal contact and consent, we're not representatives but custodians. They want direct access to Earth. For trade? Commander Lee asked. For influence, Yoonji corrected. For resources. For cultural exchange that would inevitably reshape your societies. Some have good intentions, others do not. She brought up an image of an elegant crystalline vessel. 3 standard cycles ago, about 8 Earth months, this diplomatic ship attempted to bypass our patrols. We intercepted it, but the incident created a diplomatic crisis. We can no longer maintain the quarantine without risking war. Taeho felt overwhelmed. Just days ago, his greatest concern had been proving his theories about the Europa signal. Now he was discussing interstellar politics aboard an advanced spacecraft. So what happens now? He asked. Minho gestured and the display changed to show Earth. Now we prepare your world for contact, not just with us, but with all that lies beyond. We had hoped for more time, perhaps another century, but we no longer have that luxury. Your leaders must be informed, Yoonji added, your people prepared. The transition will be difficult, but we'll help guide you through it. And if Earth rejects your help? Commander Lee asked. If we want no part in this galactic community? Yoonji's expression grew grave. That is your right. But isolation is no longer an option. The quarantine is ending, one way or another. Without our guidance, Earth would face the galaxy alone and... Unprepared, she stepped closer to the Earth team. We're not asking you to trust us blindly. Come with us, see what we've seen. Let us show you recordings of civilizations that have encountered the galaxy unprepared, and those who entered with allies at their side. Taeho looked at his teammates. Subin nodded slightly. Jiwon's eyes were wide with scientific curiosity. Even Commander Lee seemed less hostile, though still wary. Show us, Taeho said. For the next several hours, they watched historical recordings of first contacts, some peaceful, some catastrophic. They saw worlds transformed by sudden technological leaps, cultures fractured by exposure to alien ideas, and in a few terrible cases, planets stripped of resources by opportunistic visitors. Earth stands at a crossroads, Minho said when the recordings ended. The path ahead is not easy, but you don't have to walk it alone. We may have grown apart over millennia, but we are still family. As they prepared to return to their base, on Europa, Yoonji approached Taeho privately. Your discovery of our outpost wasn't entirely accidental, she confessed. We've been watching you specifically, Dr. Kim. Your perspective, your open mind. These are qualities Earth will need in the difficult days ahead. What are you saying? Taeho asked. I'm saying that when you return to Earth, you will face resistance, fear, denial. But you must persevere because the alternative... She glanced back at the galactic display. The alternative is facing the stars alone. The journey back to Earth was tense with anticipation. Taeho spent most of it preparing the presentation they would deliver to world leaders, trying to find words to explain the inexplicable. How do you tell humanity they've never been alone? That their cosmic siblings have been watching from the shadows for millennia? Do you think they'll believe us? Subin asked, reviewing their evidence for the 20th time. They had recordings, artifacts, and data, but it all seemed insufficient for the magnitude of their claim. Some will, Tejo replied. Others won't want to. The Odysseus entered Earth orbit under escort, not just their own space agency's vessels, but 3 Guardian ships that had decloaked upon their approach. Their appearance on radar stations worldwide had already set governments scrambling. Touchdown at the UN Emergency Landing Facility was met with a surreal mix of celebration and military caution. The team emerged to flashing cameras and armed guards. Behind them walked Captain Jae-hee and Ambassador Minho, the first Guardians to officially set foot on Earth in recorded history. They look so human, Tejo overheard one security officer whisper. That's because they are human, he wanted to say, but the words caught in his throat. The next few hours would determine if Earth saw the Guardians as lost family or invading strangers. The United Nations General Assembly had never been convened so quickly. Representatives from 193 nations sat in stunned silence as Tejo and his team delivered their report, followed by Ambassador Minho's formal introduction. We come not as conquerors or saviors, Minho told the assembly, his voice steady despite the enormous pressure. We come as relatives long separated, offering a hand of friendship at a crucial moment in human history. The reaction was predictably mixed. Some nations immediately called for cooperation, seeing the advantages of advanced Guardian technology and protection. Others demanded Guardian withdrawal from Earth orbit, suspicious of their true intentions. How convenient that you appear now, claiming to be our protectors, the representative from a major military power argued. Perhaps you're just the first wave of conquest, softening us up with this fantasy of shared heritage. Yoonji, who had joined the delegation at the last minute, stepped forward. If conquest were our goal, we could have achieved it at any point in the last 70,000 years. We have watched your civilizations rise and fall. We have diverted asteroids from your path. We have intercepted signals from other worlds heading toward Earth, all without revealing ourselves. Then why now? Demanded another representative. Because you're about to meet your neighbors, she replied simply. And first impressions matter. As if on cue, an aide rushed in, whispering urgently to the Secretary General. His face paled as he addressed the assembly. We have detected an unidentified craft entering our solar system. It's not one of ours, and according to our visitor, it's not one of theirs either. The assembly erupted into chaos. Tejo caught Yoonji's eye across the room. She gave a small, sad nod. This was what they had warned about. 3 days of frantic diplomacy followed. Some nations signed immediate cooperation agreements with the Guardians. Others fortified their military bases and pointed weapons skyward, at both the approaching craft and the Guardian vessels. Tejo found himself shuttled between meetings, explaining and re-explaining what they had learned on Europa. In a rare quiet moment, he stood in his hotel room watching news coverage of the global reaction. Religious leaders were calling for calm and consideration. Scientists were divided between excitement and caution. Ordinary people filled streets. Worldwide, some celebrating a new era, others protesting what they saw as a threat to human independence. His phone rang, a secure line established for the crisis response team. It's accelerating, Jiwon's voice came through, tense but controlled. The unidentified craft, it will enter Earth orbit within 2 hours. What do we know about it? Tejo asked, already grabbing his jacket. The Guardians say it's an automated probe from the Kaluxi, a machine intelligence from the Galactic core. Apparently they've been pushing boundaries lately, testing defenses of protected systems. At the hastily established Joint Command Center, Earth military leaders and Guardian officers studied tactical displays side by side. Despite their differences, they were already developing a shared language of strategy and response. Guardian Admiral Kwon Dae-hyun pointed to the probe's trajectory. It's designed to scan your planet, assess your defenses, and report back. Standard reconnaissance. Hostile? Asked Colonel Han Ji-ho of South Korea's Space Command. Not directly, Dae-hyun replied, but the information it gathers would be sold to the highest bidder. Some buyers have peaceful intentions, others do not. Then we stop it, Colonel Han said simply. The Earth had limited space defense capabilities, a handful of anti-satellite weapons, none designed for targets of this nature. The Guardians had advanced systems but were hesitant to use them without Earth's consent. A joint operation, Tejo suggested, looking between the military leaders. Your technology, our authorization, show them we stand together. What followed was a masterclass in improvisation. Guardian engineers worked with Earth technicians to upgrade existing defense systems. Communication protocols were established between vessels that had never expected to cooperate. As the probe entered the outer atmosphere, Earth witnessed its first coordinated planetary defense. Guardian ships herded the intruder into a kill zone, where modified Earth missiles, enhanced with Guardian targeting systems, disabled its propulsion. The disabled probe was captured intact and brought to a secure facility in neutral territory. Scientists from both branches of humanity gathered to study it, already sharing knowledge and methodologies as if they had worked together for years. At a press conference following the successful operation, Tejo stood beside Captain Jae-hee as reporters shouted questions. Is this the beginning of an alliance? One asked. Jae-hee looked at Tejo, waiting for him to answer. No, he said clearly into the microphones. This isn't an alliance. Alliances are between separate parties. This is a reunion. In the following weeks, Guardian representatives arrived in major cities worldwide. They came not as conquerors or even saviors, but as teachers, advisors, and relatives with stories to share. They brought technology, but introduced it gradually. They offered protection, but respected Earth's sovereignty. Resistance remained. Some groups protested any cooperation with space invaders. Others demanded immediate access to all Guardian technology, regardless of potential consequences. 6. Months after the Europa expedition, Tejo stood on the observation deck of the first joint Earth-Guardian space station. Below him, the blue planet turned serenely, unaware of how its place in the cosmos had fundamentally changed. Having second thoughts, Subin asked, joining him at the window. A few, he admitted. Everything's changing so fast. Not everything, she replied. Look there. Through the window, they could see Earth teams and Guardian crews working together to expand the station. Despite their differences, one group with standard-issue spacesuits, the others with sleek advanced gear, their movements were synchronized, cooperative. We took different paths, Tejo said quietly, but we're still the same species. Still, human. Ambassador Minho appeared in the doorway. The Galactic delegation arrives tomorrow. Are you prepared to join our representation team? Tejo nodded. For the first time, humanity would speak to the stars with a unified voice. Two branches, one species finally standing together. I am, he said. We are,